How's it, Cecil?
I'm well, man. Jacques. But I like calling you Jacques.
Yeah, I get it a lot. It's a difficult spelling, man.
Yeah, no,
Like, but
I'll call you Jacques though.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. It doesn't matter, dude. As long as I respond.
Yeah.
I used to be called Jack. People called me Jack for many years because they can't pronounce my name.
Fascinating.
Yeah, some Asian friends specifically of mine that couldn't pronounce Jacques.
I remember something like that of people being given names because other people can't pronounce their
Yeah,
names.
yeah.
Your people.
Hey. I'm sorry. Have you
So-
got a Christian name? 'Cause that's what we
Uh,
call it now.
yes,
right?
that's what it's called.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Actually,
Wow.
my names are Sfiso, Sibusiso.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the name I gave myself is Atomza.
Atomza. Yeah.
And
'Cause
so
I was
yeah.
wondering the first night we met. Cool. This is gonna go over here now. I'm gonna do it comedian style.
Yes,
This
I
table
see.
does not grip. But the first night I met you, we had a whole. I was doing stand up.
Yes.
We had a whole conversation about like a 5-minute long conversation about like what your cultural origin is, your heritage, your ancestry. I think that was the. I asked you like what would you prefer? How do you prefer? I asked the question. Is like where are you from? What's your heritage?
Yes.
You know? And we had a long conversation about what's your surname?
Butelez.
Mbutulezi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there are people that have the surname Zulu, and they are of the Zulu. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Because I don't really know anything about it.
Well, I think all of us with a particular grouping of surnames, we are considered Zulu, and this is because of ancient pacts,
Okay.
According to how I understand it, as it was passed down to me, is that a good way to look at it is the Prince Mangosuthu, who just passed away now, Buthelezi. His name was Mangosuthu, and so there's something very interesting about Usuthu, and I think it relates to the lineage of kings,
Now that's
And-
considered. The Sotho is considered a different culture categorically.
Yes,
Right.
which I also find quite fascinating. That there's Usuthu in isiZulu, but there's also Lesotho. And fascinatingly enough, the Zulu are known as people of the heavens, right? But Lesotho is known as the kingdom in the sky.
Wow.
So I find those parallels
That's so
quite
cool.
interesting. But anyways, let me go back to
Yeah,
Mango
yeah,
Sotho. I think Usuthu relates to the lineage,
Okay.
of the people who are supposed to be kings or the custodians of the culture, which are a combination of the Zulu people, abantu bakaphunga nomakeba, you see, which are the sort of the ancestors that formed the kingdom, right? And so when I was saying to you that I'm Buthelezi, I wanted an acknowledgement of my ancestors,
Yeah.
who were part of the oath to sort of unite with
Okay.
the Zulu kingdom
All right.
and form a force.
Do you know
So
how
that's
long
how
ago that pact was made? Like at what point in history?
I think it must have been in the 1800s.
Okay. All right.
Actually, maybe even before then. What
Yeah.
I do know is that Ushaka Zulu, the law is that Ushaka Zulu is the one that united sort of the different families
Yeah.
into the kingdom.
Yeah.
And so that's, and everyone became Umzulu as a result of
Okay.
that, But like there's many theories that sort of contribute to this, other people became Zulu by conquest, because like your family was defeated, and was forced to sort of
Yeah.
join this sort of other family for protection or whatever it may be, And so I think when I say that I'm Buthelezi, and this is how I prefer to be addressed, I mean it in that sense. I just want to acknowledge my lineage.
Yes. Of course.
So I'm Buthelezi and Ntuli,
Yeah.
who also have a fascinating little history. KwaZulu, apparently the progenitor, Usompisi, or his father, was like a, how would I put this? I want to say cannibal, but I don't want to say cannibal. I want to use the word giant.
A giant.
Yes.
Okay.
The story is that he was a cannibal,
Okay.
and one of his sons left to go and join the Zulu kingdom, to run away from his father's things, but like I wanted to find out about that. What does that mean? He was cannibal, like he ate humans.
What does it mean to leave the kingdom? Does that mean you move away from like
Yeah.
the reaches of the
Yes, and
kingdom?
This is how my ancestors Ontuli or
Yeah.
Sompisi became part of the Zulu kingdom.
Okay, all right.
Because they were separate and then moved.
Okay.
Because of those reasons,
Yeah,
which are
yeah.
quite macabre.
That's really cool. It is. It's dark, but it's really interesting. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's the story about like where I come from,
Cool.
and why I spoke about it like that on the day.
Yeah. No, I mean, in some ways it was frustrating, but it also showed me how little I know. Because like from my perspective, I only know like these are the cultures, these are the specific ones, and they none of them have touched each other over time. It's been a unique experience from all of them. That's how I understand it from my upbringing.
Yeah, no, the cultures the African cultures in South Africa, like, I mean, if we focus around the 11 languages that we have, the ones that are African in those languages, were identified by, I think, the apartheid government to say for their own administration purposes, you see. And so they were like, oh, these are the Zulus, these are Sutus, these must be Pedis, these are Swatis or whatever, for their own administration. They were not far from the truth, but it was not as precise as it could have been.
Yeah.
But I think that to sort of make things easier, for administration purposes and like keeping order, this is what was identified. I guess, and it makes sense for to be categorized like that for people who are doing the categorizing. But there is a way to alienate, important aspects of a being or of a person by sort of imposing these categories on a person, and like sort of not allowing them to self-identify.
It's almost like an indirect rewriting of history. Yeah. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, it's fine.
Like it indirectly rewrites history,
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's also interfering. If I can put it like that, because how then does one know who they are, or even attempt to even discover who they are when you've been told who you are, but that telling is not a complete truth, you see. And so it's access to information or hiding particular information deprives people of, their ability to explore the newfound information and see what it can be for them, and I mean, if we were the sum of our experiences and our knowledges, like denying someone of knowing a particular something is messing with who they can be.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, and I can see that in my own. I can really only go back in my own heritage about 3 generations before it becomes. There's nothing I can know because everybody's passed away. Like I can only know what my grandmother's surname was, and after that, there might be a book somewhere in the Free State with signatures from ancestors going back, I guess, if ancestors are the right word, going back from there. I can really just go from my surname.
It's similar with me as well. I think I can go up until a certain point, maybe my great grandmothers and fathers. But beyond that, I'd have to sort of consult, a grandparent.
Yeah.
And they'd be able to sort of share further.
Yeah. From what they can recall as well. And
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think about that as well a lot, especially understanding that who we largely are, especially in patriarchal societies, is, you will take your father's surname.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, that has always made sense, right? Because, I don't know, the mother will always have proof, maybe to some degree, that the child is hers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then the father is the one who is not sure. So I guess, imprinting the fatherness or the father's likeness in the name of a surname of some sort of suja, whatever it is, would sort of be appropriate, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, both lineages also, like, they do matter, right?
Yes,
like,
no, definitely. Well, I think what I'm trying to say is,
if
we had to trace the other lineage, children usually are close to the mother side of the family. But I think it's because also that family gets to see the child grow in front of them. Like, they know this is their child. And so, with things like infidelity and, there's a show on Mocha Love. There's a show on Mocha Love No, it wasn't Moja Life. It's another channel.
But it's a similar kind of show.
Similar type of show, but it's called Utatako, you know.
Okay.
And it's about people finding out their fathers, who they don't know.
Yeah.
And on the rare occasion, like there'll be a situation where it's discovered when they go for a DNA test, and then it's discovered that the father who's been identified as the father is not the father. So the father who's been identified as the father by the mother is
Like Jerry Springer's, like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
are
yeah.
not the father.
something like that. But
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
it's not so much drama, but like it's dramatic because like the culture is not used to something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, like we trusted the paternity of children so much that we could, you know, it's like the child takes the father's surname, you know, because I don't know, that's something that
Yeah, I mean,
we trust so much.
on
but
my side, we do the same thing, right? Like, I got my dad's surname. I even got my dad's middle name. I have a middle name that's been handed down from at least 4 or 5 generations back.
Fascinating.
Abel, biblical name. Yeah, I mean,
That's the guy that was killed.
yeah. I'm the brother that
Jesus.
gets killed, but I was also good to God, so you know,
Fair.
better than the one that didn't offer much and then killed his brother. I think that's the worst.
And went on to start civilization.
Yeah, hey, look at where we are now.
It's not too bad.
It's okay. We got medicine.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, you say we've got medicine. There's a popular, I don't know what to call him. He doesn't call himself a prophet or he doesn't call himself a pastor or whatever, but like he's been trending online. His name is a Brother Enigma.
Brother Enigma.
I
That's
love
such
it
a
so
cool.
much. Yes. And so he speaks about matters of spirituality.
Okay.
When you watch it, it almost appears tongue in cheek.
Mm.
But like listening to the few clips that I've seen, I can sort of tell where he gets his references from. So he'll say
Okay.
things like, well, you know, Jesus doesn't like Linda to go to gym, you know, because when you're waiting to enter the gym, the demons are all waiting with you, and as soon as they open the gym door, they're going
The
in
gym, like where you exercise.
Yes, where you exercise. So what I was getting at is civilization and where we're at now. When he said that, I was just like, I wonder where he's getting this from. And he's holding a Bible in his hands, you know. But like in the book of Enoch, which survives through the Ethiopian church, you know, there's a passage there about the fallen angels that followed Lucifer to earth. And it speaks about how they took wives and had children. But they also taught human beings forbidden knowledge, you see, about like, you know, how to like dig for precious minerals underneath the earth, how to sort of make weapons of war and like, you know, declare war or whatever. And how to sort of adorn oneself with makeup and things like that, but also like the art of bodybuilding, you know. And I thought, is this where this guy is getting his reference from?
It's
know?
possible,
And
but I
so-
mean, the Book of Enoch isn't even in the official Bible, right?
Yes.
It's like
it isn't.
It's between the story of Noah and the last.
The flood.
Yeah, it's just before the flood. That's where Enoch appears. I was actually talking to my dad about this yesterday. We're
Fascinating.
talking about the Book of Enoch. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just, as we were talking about civilization and how Cain went on,
Yeah.
it's quite fascinating to say, oh, this is where we are now. And I said that it's not too bad. And then, you know, I brought up this brother Enigma and what he had to sort of say about this.
That's interesting.
But then I realized that, of course, you take it with a pinch of salt, but then like there's a reference to something similar to what he's saying. Of course, he's phrasing it in a way that I think would be accessible to people. But
It's
I mean,
interesting. I'd love to check it out. I haven't heard of this.
I hope you understand. I hope you can get the majority of his content. You know?
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, it's on YouTube though.
All right, so I'll check it out. That's very interesting. So I wanted to ask quickly about, now that they're on the topic of religion, if you don't mind talking about religion, what was the religion that you were like brought up around, and how does that kind of relate to any cultural practices, I guess, religious practices in that sense, if I can say it that way? I don't know if that's the right way to ask the
I think
question.
it's okay. I mean, I'm probably going to ramble on the answer, but
That's cool.
so my parents, you know, my mom from the Duli side, you know, her parents were Xhosa and Zulu.
All right.
My dad is pure Zulu.
Okay.
Both parents are Zulu. And
3/4 Zulu then.
yes. And so they had, you know, sort of traditional practices, especially on the Zulu side, which were quite, you know, heavy. And so I realized also that, you know, like the religion was tied to the culture. If I had to say it like that.
Mm.
Yeah. But then my grandmother and as a result, my mother sort of converted to Christianity.
Okay.
Quite early. My grandmother is the last of 4 wives.
Wow.
The grandmother that births my mother is the last of 4 wives.
Okay.
And converted to Christianity, and my mother did the same. My dad also, I think, they were a very liberal sort of family. My grandfather loved uklaba, like to slaughter
Okay.
an animal so everyone eats.
Mm-hmm.
But it was never like ritualized, if I can put it like that.
Okay.
It was just, for meat purposes.
Yeah. So there wasn't necessarily a specific purpose for it, apart from we're gonna braai now.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
we're just going to eat the meat, It's
Okay.
like, but there was a framing of some of the things as like Thanksgiving, see, and so and it's just, I've got something I've managed to work, and I've got a few things, and I'm going to give thanks to the things that are giving me these things, so like whether it's God or but I'm going to share with the community.
Cool, man.
And so there was that, but my dad later converted to Umzayon.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then my mom became sort of what do they call them? Pentecostal Christians.
Okay.
Yeah, so which I think later changed into something else, which
Mm,
became this prosperity gospel, whatever it became. And so I grew up under sort of a Christian ethos, if I can put it like that.
Okay.
But the first sort of church I went to outside of my dad's Zion church was Nazareth, the Church of the Nazarene.
Okay.
I think they come from a branch in Swaziland and then via Mpumalanga, and then they ended up at Tsakane, which is also far east.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was pretty amazing. Like I got to learn some fascinating things there. I got introduced to group music making there. So like I sang in a little beautiful choir. And I learned things like about fasting, and like how you don't have to be dependent on food. It's like, and it's for spiritual reasons, you see.
Right.
And so and they articulated it well to us as children at the time that it made sense. We could sort of put ourselves through this.
That's cool.
So I appreciated that, and then it sort of changed into this weird thing that I didn't quite appreciate, this prosperity gospel. Like there was just too much focus on money, and so that's the sort of religion I grew up under. I love the fact that there was a Bible, because I did like reading, right? And so I read that Bible.
It's a really good book.
I read the things that were popular, right? But like, because I like reading, I also read the things that were not so popular, and like some of them are quite strange, and I got to learn why they were not popular. And so but then every time I just sort of raised these questions with the authorities, then the people that were my superiors in the church, because I have questions and I'm
yeah.
There wouldn't be an appreciation for the questions, really. It would always seem like
just believe. I don't know if you got that. That's what I got. Like when I had questions, like no, just have faith.
Yeah,
just have faith.
Yeah, and it wasn't working. The faith part was not working with me at the time. I felt like it was an attempt to quell my questioning instead of incite my curiosity. So even the answers I did get were answers that were not designed to allow me to explore more, but rather to keep quiet.
And I do think there are certain pastors and churches and places where you can ask these questions and have them answered, not just logically,
definitely.
but spiritually, and you can have a fulfilling answer, something that can actually broaden your understanding of what is actually happening.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. We did have people who I wasn't like lonely. I wasn't like alone in these questions and like curiosities. There were people who were, my peers who had similar questions. Of course, we're in a minority, but there were also elders who had figured out something and just decided to just like be part of this community. But like they knew that they knew something. Bab Soka was one of those people. He was a father to one of my friends in the youth group. And like he was completely knowledgeable.
That's so cool.
He was a teacher, but also went and studied law, but also
preached?
I studied theology. Yeah,
Okay.
You know, and so like, you know, he was sort of broke it down to me, you know, and how I got to understand like how the books got, you know, how the Bible became the Bible, you know, and how certain books were sort of taken out, because, you know, when you're trying to establish your authority, you are going to support the things that support what you want, and the things that you don't want you take out, you know. So I had a very good understanding of like what society is, and society was exactly what I was thinking it was. You know, it's like a sort of a game of influence and authority.
Okay.
The authority, it tries to limit the influence of certain ideas. You see, and so you have to decide. And so that's how I grew up. You know, I completely liked the idea of Jesus, and like this guy who's just like telling the truth, and disturbs something in the establishment, and like gets killed for it. You know, and then like completely rises from the dead. I thought that story is incredible.
It is. It's a beautiful story, and it's such a beautiful idea to follow when you're living your life. I think it's like, what would Jesus do? Kind of, but let me think about it. How I want to say this is, you kind of, I personally always want to try and put love first, and put peace first, and put acceptance first. Something my dad would always talk about is how Jesus wasn't necessarily friends with the most pious people. He wasn't friends with the guys in the church. He was friends with the prostitutes and the tax collectors and the people that the church would ostracize and say, this is wrong, you shouldn't be doing this, you're living an immoral life. And to still love the people, even though they are, I mean, if I can put it in a South African context, even if they are racist, or, you know, to love them and to help guide them towards love and towards acceptance, towards a kinder disposition in life, and to because I think a lot of people that are stuck in those places are lonely to a certain extent, or at least completely absorbed in this world, and they don't see the outside world. They don't see that there's hope for them, and there's a chance for them. And I think the idea of Jesus and the character of Jesus is a great way to instill hope in a person, to let them know that this is not going to be the rest of your life. You're not stuck here. You know, you can progress past it, and you can live in a different way if you would like to live in a different way.
I appreciate that so much, but like sometimes I just think some people are damned. It's unfortunate, you know, but I do think that there is that. You know, and like whatever the reasons for that may be, but I do think that there is no redemption, even at the opportunity of some sort of redemption. You know, like you have to interrogate that story of this character we're speaking about now. There's this Judas Iscariot character who was given an opportunity when the truth was revealed, but you know, because he was damned. That was his, like, that was what he was supposed to do. That was who he was supposed to be. I guess, you know, and I think, and the idea is that, you know, it's a beautiful story, you know, but like when we keep it to the general experience that most people are going to have, right? If you follow that example of Jesus, you're going to die.
You're going to be nailed to a cross by some Jews.
You're going to die.
That's what happened to him,
Yeah, you're going to die, bro, you know? And I think the idea, you know, and so to some degree, he was not damned. But the rest of us,
he just was in some way unlucky as well.
Yes. Look at me and my alarm.
We're gonna go on an ad break now.
And we're back.
All right. I wanna. So the church that I grew up in was the NG Church, and it has a much older.
What does NG stand for?
NG. Nieuwe Gereformeerde Kerk, I think. I'm not too sure. That might be wrong, but it's like the Dutch church.
Dutch Reformed Church.
Yeah, the Dutch Reformed Church. That's how it came to us. Because my ancestry has got, like, I've got French in me, I've got British in me, Scottish in me, some Portuguese, but the main ones are like French, English, Dutch. That's my Europeanness. That's how white I am.
I've always thought about it as the three ships.
Yeah, the three ships. Very good whiskey, but Yeah. So that's the church that, like, even the Voortrekkers, my ancestors, the people that came to Joburg, because I was born here, the that was the church that they followed, or at least the denomination that they followed, and it grew over time. It's not what it is now. Is not what it was 100 years ago. It's not what it was 400 years ago when it came here first. You know, and it can be quite a boring church service. Like you'll sing a few songs and you'll sit and you'll listen to the guy preach, and then the kids and the adults are in the same what do you call it? I'm gonna say lecture. It's not a lecture.
Service.
Service. Yes, thank you. In the same service, and as a kid, it's quite difficult to learn in that kind of a environment, because this is a story for adults, and you're 4 years old sitting there thinking, "Damn, I have no idea who these guys are. I know Noah, you know, but who the hell is Ezekiel?" You know. It's a very strange. It's interesting how all different denominations will favor certain stories over other stories, or tell them in specific ways,
Yes,
you know, and how they will twist it kind of to fit their narrative of the story.
Yes.
And twist might be too negative of a word to use in certain circumstances. Yeah, they frame it to be a certain way, and yeah, the Dutch NG churches are all Afrikaans people, all white people. It's like that's where we go. You know,
I sang at a few. I used to sing in a choir that we did, like some tours at NG Kerks, because the audience loved the music.
Yeah.
So, one of my first introductions to the church was because of I don't know. Do you know the history of 16th December?
16 December.
The holiday. What we call it now, Reconciliation Day.
Yeah.
And so, apparently, not apparently, but you know, this is just like history. It's as a result of the Battle of Blood River.
Oh wow.
Right.
Okay.
And apparently, some people prayed the night before, and said that, you know, if God delivers them from the Zulus, I think it was it could have been the Afrikaners, definitely.
No, we were there.
Yeah, man.
It was maybe not just us, but
and so I pray that if God delivers us from the Zulus tomorrow,
and that's where it comes from. Reconciliation. I can't remember who won the battle. Was it the Afrikaans people? Okay.
And so that's why 16th December became a holy day.
Wow.
That was dedicated to their God.
To deliverance.
Yeah, because of that deliverance on that day.
Wow.
You see, and so there's like a long history that, you know, sometimes is intertwined to our sort of things that are. It's got to do with a lot of religious.
South Africa is a very Christian country, right? We've become today, right now, as we speak, South Africa is a relatively Christian country. We've got a lot of different cultures and religions, but I think the overarching religion, if you go to a small town in South Africa, you are bound to find a church rather than a temple or a mosque. You know, the chances are that you'll find a church there.
Yeah. But this is all historical, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the fascinating stories is of John Langalibalele Dube.
Okay.
So he was one of the founders of the ANC. According to, you know, law, his family were the first to be converted to Christianity in KZN.
Wow.
You see, of course, you know, understand that I'm just saying this. You know, but this is what, in the 1880s, 1870s,
late 1800s,
yeah. And so, like, the Christian, and apparently, like, you know, the missionaries preached for 10 years since they arrived. They preached for 10 years with no convert.
All right.
And so John Langalibalele's family ends up at the missionary house as a shelter or some sort of protection, because they were trying to run away from some people who were intending to do harm to them.
Okay.
And so this is how they get converted.
All right.
You know, and so there's like interesting histories. You know, that guy goes on to go and study overseas. He comes back and he starts the ANC, part of the people that start the ANC. And so I understand, you know, how we can be framed as a Christian country, but I think Christianity is convenient for us.
It's a very good tool for conquest.
Yeah.
You know, religion, if you can take over, you can take over the land, and you can
Yeah.
you can bring people to fear with violence, or you can bring people to fear with hell.
Yes.
That's a lot scarier.
Yes.
It's one thing to say like we can kill you, but it's another thing to say we can kill you, and if you die and you don't believe in what we believe, it's gonna be worse.
Yeah. No.
You know?
Sure. I think it was a very quick project that was done uh by the missionaries and like colonialists. You know, I I always suspect that they knew what they came here for. Because they were here to convert people from what they are to something new. So they came to destroy, really. And it doesn't matter how they framed it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like because they came to change something that was there.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that framing sort of just neutralizes things as just things, you know, that can be used for good or for bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's just make the decision, you know. And so religion for me is, you know, and like saying something is Christian, you know, it's just a label now.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like I don't think it's got anything to do with values of who Christ was.
But I do think it has to do with the morals and the values that you do grow up with, right? Like, I think if you can go and ask anyone what religion were you raised under, it's very likely that they're going to say Christianity. Any given person in South Africa, and you tend to you get moral values instilled through the religion. Of course, it's not maybe as heavy as I'm making it sound, like as many of the values that you do get from the religion, but we do get a common understanding of the world and what's and right and wrong through the religion that gets given to us. So I
Yes.
think it's important to kind
Yes.
of note that the way that we think, at least to some core extent, will be dictated by the religion that we grew up under.
Yes, I agree. But you know, I see religions, and I think this is why religions end up being cults. You know, because ultimately, I think at its base, you know, it has a lot to do with culture. You know, and so I prefer, you know, now that I've grown older and I've got my own kids, you know, I'm starting to prefer the model of sort of my ancestors, where the religion is your culture. You know, and like, and the two are not separate. You see, and so like when you're doing things, when you're going about your life, right? It's being prescribed, if I can put it like that.
No, I
You know,
understand. Yeah.
I you know, I like that, you know, because it sort of takes away from how can I put it? You know, I think Christianity sometimes gives lacks accountability. You see, because there's forgiveness, and so
Yeah.
much of it.
Yeah.
It's like you can almost do whatever you want.
It is.
You
It's
can
like
be
as
forgiven.
long as you say sorry.
There's no prescription.
Yeah.
You see, and so, but then the no prescription does not force you to act in particular ways. Yeah, bo. And so I don't want to say it like that. You know, because I do think that our families, regardless of what religion, I think the family still holds a big part of South Africa together. You know, and I do think that the Christian values may have contributed to that, but like there were families before Christianity.
Yeah, of
You know,
course.
and so the family thing is not something that was encouraged by Christianity. Like they were always there, and there was authority, and there was law. You see, that governed the people and how one can act and how one shouldn't act. And so the label of Christianity is just something that was convenient, that was there. You know, it was legal together in churches versus other forms of groups. You see, and so it's like I get it, but like you know, the family is the institution that deserves the praise of morality.
Okay,
I
I
think
think
in
I'm
society.
talking very specifically from my perspective then, like from my history, because if I can remember the little bit of time that I got to spend with my grandmother, how our family worked is on Sundays we would go to church together, then we would go home and she would cook a Sunday lunch, and then after that my grandmother would play the piano, my grandfather would play the guitar, and they'd sing hymns and like Christian songs. So the whole life was immersed in, or the whole culture was immersed in
There you go.
Christianity. It was saturated with Christianity. Whereas, if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, and do correct me if I'm wrong, but like for African cultures, it's a lot newer, that induction of religion, where there's kind of now there's both exist
Yes.
But the family prescription and the heritage, I don't know what the right word is, but the prescription that was given by the culture has more of a hand than the religious.
Well, besides which one has more of a hand, the culture or the religion, right? That's not actually the conversation.
Okay.
I think the conversation is that they clash.
Okay. Yeah.
To some degree, because the prescription of one is a prescription, and the other one is perhaps not. But then once you're in a club, there's implicit rules. You can't eat meat that has been slaughtered for the ancestors. And this is according to an understanding of a certain understanding of Christianity, and then that causes rifts in the family.
Okay. All right.
And I think that's what I'm trying to get at with the idea of, I prefer when, like you're talking about now, how your grandparents' culture, religion and culture was intertwined. So
yes,
religion became a form of life.
Yes.
I believe in that. But like what I'm trying to say again, you're proving my points about the family, because that happened at home. Like whether it doesn't matter the songs that could be sung, they could have been Kwaito songs, but if that was the thing that was popular at the time, you were going to participate in that.
Yes.
Because it's music making. It's like sitting around the fire and like after eating and just like communing as human beings.
And how we commune.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, I do hope that we can keep communing and learning about each other's cultures. That's going to be the introductory episode of what we're about to do here. We want to bring some people on from different cultures in South Africa at some point and have these exact conversations and further conversations.
Yes.
I want to talk about as much as we possibly can to learn from each other. That's the idea, because I feel like in my upbringing, I went to an Afrikaans high school, an Afrikaans primary school, Afrikaans kindergarten. Only in university that I see diversity in my own life. And I feel like I've almost been robbed of learning in that sense from other cultures and from other people. And this is me saying that I don't know anything and I want to know more.
Well, let's see what we can explore, man. I bumped into you at Rumors. So let's hear what the intelligence on the streets is saying.
Hey.
See, what can people teach us?
100%. 100%. Cool. The idea is to interview every South African. We'll see if we can do it. And some people from Swaziland and Lesotho.
Well, South Africans.
Yeah.
Southern Africans.
Yeah, Southern African.
There we go.
We're going to extend to Botswana and Zimbabwe and
become
Zambia.
Pan-African.
Yeah.
Then we become globalists, take over the world.
Then we interview every human.
Yeah.
Might be able to do it. We might need 1 or 2 more interviewers. Awesome. Sfiso, man. Thank you so much for coming through
Thanks,
today,
Jacques.
brother.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, man.
Cool.